Buongiorno guys, coming at you from Sardinia in Italy. Let's update the markets, especially after the inflation news came out and what I think everyone is getting wrong about Bitcoin, inflation, what's going on with cryptos, and of course the economy. So smash up likes, subscribe, do all the clicks down below. I know it's annoying asking for it, but it helps out the channel. Let's dive into this piece of information that everyone keeps getting wrong time and time again. So let's start with the short-term time frame for Bitcoin, and then we're going to answer some of the larger term time frame questions and also look at some trading opportunities in cryptocurrencies in this environment where there's been a ton of bad news about inflation, 9.1%, the highest on record for decades now, but what we're seeing is the price not dumping as hard. Remember, we've looked at this on the channel heaps and heaps of times, and our members get this now. You guys that are watching are understanding this. When we see the bad news not affect the market like we expect it to, or at least what the retail would expect it to, you can start to see the end of the trend. Okay, I'll repeat that again, but we'll talk about it in terms of the highs. We're looking at the bull market tops. We had a lot of talks about Bitcoin going to $100,000. Never happened. The price stopped moving up. Looking at the Bitcoin price here on a larger term time frame, we had tons of good news at the top. You can remember all of the bullish only channels, the guys who continue to go on about bullishness, talk about 100K Bitcoin, and the market just was not pushing up any higher. That's what we saw back here in October. We saw it in November. We also saw it in April and May of 2021. And there's receipts on the channel if you need those things. But that was specifically what I was talking about. And I went on other channels as well at that time saying, these prices aren't moving up. People were calling for $80,000 Bitcoin at that time. That was the big call. Lots and lots of extreme excitement. Next thing you know, we dump to $29,000. So we're seeing the same thing in reverse now. We're seeing a ton of bad news. You're seeing a lot, we're all seeing a lot of data, inflation being way too high. We are seeing the possibility of recession and even talks over and over and over again about recession. We're just hearing a lot of bad news. And I see it in the comments as well, people saying you're forgetting about this piece of data, you're forgetting about that, you're forgetting about that. It honestly doesn't matter when you look at the cycle. And that goes for the same when you're looking at the peak of the cycle. Just think about all of that good news, all of that on-chain data in Bitcoin. Just as an example, all that on-chain data that came out throughout this entire bull market and the bear market, and they were all wrong. They were all wrong because they are just only looking at one side of the equation. They're just looking at one piece of data and then trying to say, well, this is happening, therefore this must happen. And they completely forget, they all get the cycle wrong every single time. And so that's why this thing continues to repeat time and time and time again. Now, I'm not trying to say that I'm always 100% right. All I want to do in the market, my only job as an investor, as a full-time investor, is just to take a slice, some of the biggest slices I possibly can, and maybe the slice of the cake isn't that big, maybe it's only this little section here. But either way, I want to take a slice out of the middle, then get out of the market and just wait. And that's what we have successfully done with cryptocurrencies, trading altcoins, getting in and out of them, not investing in them at the moment. I think there's still plenty of time for altcoins, but there are trading opportunities right now. So these are some short-term stuff. So the things that everyone, in my opinion, of course, is getting wrong is, of course, the cycle. And the cycle is something that we've talked about on the channel for many, many months now. Looking back, even late 2021, we weren't expecting 2022 to be too good for cryptos and for the stock markets. And we've seen that now. We saw a peak in January, but you can see the market was basically peaking out in November. It didn't really go much higher. This is the Dow Jones. And then we basically crashed from that point. And you could almost say that you wouldn't have cared if you were out of the market in May, because the market really didn't go that much higher into January. So you could have 6 to 8 months of basically not much gains in the Dow. And if you want to look at the S&P, so the top 500 companies in America, you basically had a peak here in about August. The market didn't go that much higher in November or into January. And then we've since crashed from that point. We've been looking at the areas for where this could come down to, and all along since this top came in, because that's how we can use our 50% tool, we can see that we've been waiting for about 3,500 points as a reasonable support zone for the S&P. And for the NASDAQ, we're at 11,700 at the moment. We're bouncing around the 50% level right now. So there's been some further downside targets that I've got in mind, somewhere around 10,500 and down to about 8,900 points. I think underneath that level, that's a real danger zone for the tech sector, traditional markets for stocks and things like that. But right now, we're sort of bouncing around an okay zone. We're bouncing around the 50% level on a macro time frame here on the weekly chart. Should we get down to 10.5 on NASDAQ? Not too bad. And these are all sort of this is all part of what's going on in the economy in terms of the repricing of stocks in the US. And everyone is extremely fearful about this inflation news and everything has to come to an end. But we've seen so much bad news for the last couple of months. We're now in mid-July. You can see back from May when that last bit of data came out, the market tanked into about 11,700, and we're basically at that same price right now 2 months later, even though maybe you disagree, but I think the news and the market sentiment, the fearfulness in the retail investor has gotten a lot worse, but the pricing hasn't gotten worse. So, not to repeat what we said at the beginning of the video, we're looking at the peaks. Is the same thing happening in reverse? Maybe we only have a little bit further to go. Maybe we only head down to 10.5 for the NASDAQ, but let's use the S&P, it's the top 500 companies. Maybe we only head down to the 50% level, which has happened many, many, many times. You've seen that on the channel, 3,500. So the main message here is the worst is most likely over, in my opinion, and I think the majority of people are getting that absolutely wrong, regardless of if the word inflation pops up again, or if it goes into a recession pops up, or if it goes into a technical recession. The worst is most likely over. The main thing that we look at, which has not gone into a recession and will not go into a recession in 2022, like I did an interview with the legendary economist Phil Anderson here. So we did a 3-hour live event talk in Australia in April 29th. Everyone understood this and got the idea of the cycles and how to invest long term. You can purchase this. I'll leave a link for it in the video description. That's 3 hours of incredible content if you want to be a full-time investor and not get sucked up into the same shit that goes round and round on YouTube with people saying, just hang in there, guys. You're all going to be okay. We're going to do this together. Stay strong. Everyone trying to bring each other into this sort of community. Real investors don't act like that. It's absolute nonsense. If you want to be a full-time investor yourself, check out that event as well, and obviously stay tuned to the channel, like and subscribe. Land is not going into a recession. Land is the backbone of the economy. Everyone gets this wrong. Of course, that's the title of today's video, what everyone gets wrong about Bitcoin, inflation. I think cryptos are ready to pump. We'll look at that in just a sec. They're getting it all wrong when it comes to all of the bad news, all the bad data. Now, for me, is the time to be buying. Between now and probably the end of the year, I think we'll start to see some of these things bounce back. If we don't have another lower low, maybe we'll have a higher low. But I think this is sort of that grinding period where you get that bad news and the market really doesn't have that much further to fall. If it does fall, to me, we've got a fair few levels back here on the S&P, and the same thing for Bitcoin. It's not that much further down, although the feeling will be extreme for a lot of people. So I think it's a good time for that old DCA period. I didn't think DCA was good at the beginning of the year. You guys remember that on the channel? I was calling everyone fools for doing it so early. I've got to take myself and just be a little bit more humble about things in the future. We'll continue on that together. But looking at what's coming up next, I think we're probably about to churn into a cycle of maybe a bit of a boring, stagnant period, but it'll be a period that is a good opportunity for longer term investing. So that's the S&P. Bitcoin we've been looking at. We've looked at this cycle so many times, and it takes a while to play out, and now you're seeing it. I was looking for a low late Q2. So far we've got that low, but I think maybe we have to retest that current low, which was in June. That's late Q2. It's basically happened, and this was when the video came out in February, and obviously I was doing my analysis earlier on from that. We've talked about it earlier. Months gone by, and we're now here. Q3, maybe we have a test of that level. Maybe Q4 we have another test. So I'm looking towards that Q3, Q4, which is currently what we're in for further grinding periods for Bitcoin. But in the meantime, it looks like we're having some sort of hold up at these levels, and potentially are getting a little bit of a pump on with cryptocurrencies. For the likes of Matic, which has had some pretty good gains, last week it was up 23.7%. This week we're currently up 8%, but if you measure from the low of this week, because that's the trading ranges, to the top, you're at 26% on this week as well. Down to a shorter term time frame, on the daily and then the 4-hour, you can see there have been some pretty good trading opportunities, especially when we get out our swing indicator here for breakout levels to trade long, and then obviously rejections, trading short. Matic has been a pretty big mover. Solana is something that I've been covering for ages. It's been rejected at 43 bucks, which was the 50% range. And now we're putting in higher lows upon higher lows, which was yesterday on big volume. So this is basically the smart money buying up. You can see the volume has been much greater on the 13th of July than any days probably prior in the last almost 4 weeks. So that would say that there's been a lot of smart money buying up. Now they are testing higher prices to see if there's any more supply coming into the market before they can push prices higher. So these are sort of trends that start early, and then if we're on those trends, that's the long trade to the upside. So there's some resistance potential at around $36 on Solana, and just looking to the upside, you got the top here at about 40, and then 42.5, and then from that point, you only have sort of small areas here at about $48 all the way up to $59. So if this can start to get some nice clean swings on the way up, break through those resistance levels, then you got a nice quick move up to about $80. Now you guys know I've been pretty bearish on Solana since the breakdown at these levels. I publicly talked about selling out of everything at 130, and I even sold out at 160 on the way up. So an average price about 145, 150. Would have loved the 200, but profit's a profit. I was not talking about buying Solana here, and now we're just starting to get this slowdown before we possibly retest some higher prices for some good trading opportunities. So this is the time where I get excited when everyone else is extremely fearful, but we need to time that out as well, because there's a lot of fear on the way down, but there's also a lot of excitement. But I think now we're probably getting to the end points between now and the end of the year for some extreme fear, but there's still going to be some reasonable trading opportunities from these lower levels, because going from 30 bucks to 60 bucks is a 100% trading range, and there's the possibility of a pretty good trading range for Solana from these lows to that current area, if not all the way up to about 80 bucks. And then if you're looking at something else, SRM. This is a Solana project, but it will have even higher percentage moves because it is a lower market cap. So higher risk, but there could be higher percentage moves for something within that zone as well. If there's some good moves on Solana, then the ecosystem as well might have some good moves. You can see we're currently at $1. The 50% level is at about $1.70. And if you can break through, you've probably got some resistance at about 240 up to about 260. So there's a fair bit of room to move in a lot of these smaller cap cryptocurrencies. So far, Bitcoin is holding its ground here at around that $19,000 level with that quick move up to 20,000. We have bad inflation figures, which hasn't really affected the market, even though retail, again, has been extremely fearful. We go down to the daily chart. There was basically not that much movement between the closes. It was 0.4%. So the bad news is starting to wear off on people, and it looks like there are some opportunities arising for crypto trades, especially on the long side, even if they get out of those break zones. Thanks for joining. We're going to join back here again very soon. So make sure you subscribe, like the content. If you want to check out this live event I did with Phil Anderson, one of the best economists in the world, check out the link in the video description. We posted this, we did this live a couple of months ago now. Absolutely incredible content. And of course, the other links down there for our members, TIA Lite and TIA Premium, to learn about trading and investing. And Bybit, $4,450 sign up bonuses. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you back here real soon. Peace out. Arrivederci from Sardinia in Italy. Cheers.